Welcome. So here we are. It's a course in C# programming, COP2360. Totally redeveloping this course to avoid dealing with third-party publisher resources that cost you a ton of money and tie us to another system that we can't rely on. So with that said, there's a lot of changes that are taking place in the course, and all for the better. All for the better. So we're going to be using some resources that in the past we would not have necessarily needed to use, and as a result, they're going to create resources for you that you'll be able to use long after the course is over. The third-party resources that we'd previously used had us tied to things that we had no control over after the end of the term. So one of the things we'll use in this course now is GitHub repositories. And everybody will create their own GitHub repository. There's no cost associated with it. And save their work there so that they've got something to show potential employers down the road. Here's an example of my work. Here's what I can do. That, along with, we'll utilize a couple of resources. We can still use Replit, but I think we're going to use either Visual Studio Code or visualstudio.net, whichever one's suitable for you and your environment. So you can use that IDE, Integrated Development Environment, and store your code in your GitHub repository. And then all you need to do is just share a link to your GitHub repository or to that specific file in your submissions. So what are we going to do? I've got a list of 7 different objectives, learning outcomes associated with the course. And you're going to need to go through each of these steps. Start here 1 all the way down through the syllabus course agreement. So review the syllabus. It's over here to the left in simple syllabus. Get an understanding of the weights of the assignments, how much each assignment grouping is worth. There's group assignments in this course. It's not an optional thing. You have to work as a group, as a developer, as a member of just about any organization today. You have to work in groups. So instead of you having to deal with it for the first time in a work environment, we'll deal with it here, and we'll have those GitHub repositories to allow you to work in a similar software development environment than you would in a software development shop. Once you've knocked out that course agreement and syllabus, get into the rest of the modules. So that'll knock us out of this Start Here module. We'll get through that, and then that'll take you into module 1. Now, at the time I'm recording this, I've only published modules 1 and 2. They've been signed off on. I'll have 3 and 4 in the coming days, and so on. Depending on the term that this course is being offered will dictate how many modules will be needed to address in a given week. It could be 1 module a week, could be 2 modules. It just depends on the course sequence and the amount of time we have to complete each of the modules. Over on the right hand side you should have View Calendar, to where you can go in, look at your calendar, and see what's due. And you'll see which assignments are due and when they're due. In this first module, assuming you've gone through and taken that course contract and syllabus quiz, that is your way to confirm your attendance or verify your attendance with the registrar's office. Once you've done that, you can then access the rest of this. Not until then. Okay. So, in this first module, it's going to be short and sweet. It's just about the history of C#. That's one of our objectives, is to understand the history of C#. List the historical evolution of programming languages. So that's what we go through in this module, Chapter 1. I have a video in here. This one will be updated and recorded as soon as I get done with this one that you're currently watching. So we've got this overview page that we're looking at. There's some lectures that, depending on one module to the next, the lectures could be links to YouTube videos, lectures other than mine, or lectures aside from the lecture that you'll see up above next to this little film clip. Then there's a link to course resources for this module, whatever resources that you may need for this module. There's a different resources page for each module. Now, as I said, there's team projects, group projects, mean same thing. Start planning ahead. I'll click on this in a second, but we also have some discussions. I leave the discussions pretty wide open. Just have expectations of participation. We do not have a bunch of discussions, so make the most of the ones that we have before the team self-assign comes up in Module 4. So get to know others in the group. You've got a quiz. There's a few quizzes in the course. There's not a lot. They're pretty comprehensive. Most of them you can retake, but when you click on them, you'll see if you're going to have the ability to retake them, how much time is associated with it. Be aware of that before you engage in a quiz or test. Okay. There's a reflection at the end of each module. Go through and answer the questions. Reflect on what you did in that module, what worked, what didn't work, what can we do to make it better. And then lastly, I should move this up, but it doesn't matter on the sequence. This is you documenting that you've gone through and set up GitHub and some iteration of Visual Studio, whether it's Visual Studio Code or visualstudio.net, whatever it may be, whatever you want to use, that's fine with me. But you'll need some kind of Visual Studio IDE or code editor for you to be able to drop your code into GitHub. So you've got to create your packages in Visual Studio and then drop them out into GitHub. Now, I said Teams. I'd go there. Make sure that you've read this and fully understand it. All right. You choose the teams. I'm not assigning teams unless, and I'll get to the unless part. So the teams have to have at least 2 members, no more than 5. The team membership will persist throughout the course, so choose carefully. Once you're on a team, you're on that team for the entire term. If for whatever reason you don't participate in the team activities, and the team members will let me know when people do not participate. You won't get credit for work completed by the team unless you participate with the team in that activity. You're going to submit a list of the members for your team. Do not get yourself in a situation where your name ends up on two lists. Do not submit somebody's name unless they have 100% agreement on a membership within your team. So you need to make sure that everybody whose name is being submitted as a member of your team is in 100% agreement on the membership, who all the members are, and they've signed off on it, and they can assure you that they're not going to pop up on somebody else's list. If you show up on more than one list, you'll be removed from both lists and grouped in with those students that do not self-assign. So whoever doesn't engage with other people to create a group, doesn't submit anything showing who they want to be on a group with or who they've engaged with to create a group, I'll create groups out of those stragglers and out of anybody that shows up twice. Okay? So I don't want to make groups. I want the groups to be your choice. I don't like being on groups in classes where I have no choice in who I'm on the group with. It's happened before. I don't particularly care for it. I'd rather have some choice over who I work with. I want you to have that same opportunity. So that would be you and at least one other member, up to you and 4 other members to meet the 5 max. Okay. So you choose who you're going to work with. But once you've chosen, you're on that group with them for the entirety of the course. And there's a number of group assignments that we're going to be working on. Okay. If there's any confusion on this, please let me know. I'm available right over here on the left on this inbox icon. Just drop me a message in there and say, hey, I'm confused about this. So, welcome to the class. Jump into Module 1 once you've got that course agreement contract worked out. And get your GitHub set up. Get your software working to where you can start coding. And we'll see you in the coming modules.